that. It's emotional, it works well in a speech, but people are still looking at their checkbooks and wondering when the relief is coming.
The bottom line here, the big picture, this was an incredibly divisive speech. It was also an incredibly divisive moment. You saw the division on display from the Democrats as well. That reflects an incredibly divided America, and one that is still, very much reeling from a series of economic challenges and our own challenges with the COVID pandemic, right? I think there's still an element of the things that brought to our reality, to our culture, that we are not over yet, is driving some of the division that was on display, but also the general kind of unhappiness and feelings of morass in the American public. And again, these moments, and John Keenan, you've covered so many more of these than I have, but since I started doing it when George W. Bush was president of the United States, I don't think I've ever seen something that was so pointed, so partisan, not just in what the president was saying, but in the mood in the room, the sort of aggression, the occasional cruelty, the mocking, the laughter. It had a tone. I mean, these are usually moments for at least all of us to say, okay, I may not agree with you, Mr. President. I may have differences on that policy, but we're going to stand here at the top and we're going to say this is about our union, right? The things that we all can get together on. And there was none of that.
We should write down, do not speak the sentence, polarization can't get worse, because it keeps getting worse.
So, Caitlin Collins, President Trump promised unrelenting action and said he's just getting started. To his supporters, that's exciting. He's just getting started, unrelenting action. And to his detractors, that must sound rather bleak.
Yeah, Jake, there were several moments that stood out, most notably on tariffs and what has happened. You saw Republicans standing up and applauding Trump as he was talking about the reciprocal tariffs that he wants to put in place, the tariffs that he has already put in place on Mexico and Canada. That despite the unease that we have heard from those Republicans on Capitol Hill about the president's plan and about how it's going to impact a lot of them in their home states. And Jake, I'll note one thing that really stood out to me was the president did not sound like he is going to roll back these tariffs that he just put in place on Canada and Mexico. Despite the suggestions that we've heard from some of his advisors, he sounded incredibly dug in, not on the notion of this being a negotiating tactic, which certainly some Republican senators might prefer that, and instead the president seeming to say that he is in for the long haul on this. Obviously, that would be notable, and I think one of the most striking lines from this was what he said to farmers. He said that this might be an adjustment period, and he told them to have a lot of fun and that he loved them, but noted they may have to bear with him again. Jake, that's a reference to the tariffs he put in place the last time he was in office, when eventually we had to see the USDA bail out farmers to the tune of $28 billion. That has been a big question that has been looming over this time around, Jake.
And Caitlin, we're about to have the Democratic response, but just quickly, I see absolutely no evidence that President Trump intends these tariffs as a negotiating tactic or this is some sort of opening bid or gambit. It seems to me that he really believes in the presidency of William McKinley and ascribes all the successes during that period of economic growth in the late 18th century or late 19th century, early 20th century to the tariffs, although economic experts will tell you, economists will say there were a lot of reasons, including immigration and the Industrial Revolution, but he really seems to believe in tariffs as an achievement unto itself. So let us turn now to the Democratic response. Alyssa Slotkin, the brand new senator.